Introducing the Fiber, brought to you by LiveOak Fiber. This open forum is meant to inspire, empower, and set the record straight for consumers and better broadband enthusiasts alike. Hi, thanks for tuning in to The Fiber. This is Kimber McCafferty, your host, brought to you by LiveOak Fiber. Today we have a very special guest. We are joined by Lou Martinez. Lou, talk a little bit about your background and what brought you to be our VP of Service Experience for LiveOak Fiber.
Absolutely. Thanks. Happy to be here. Lou Martinez, Vice President of Service Experience. I oversee construction and service delivery for our company and all of our markets. And I've been doing this for probably close to 30 years now, and working on construction and service delivery across the country and across the world. And the notion of bringing broadband to underserved areas has been a dream of mine for years. And I know that when the founders, Jody and Steve, came to me with this project to be able to do this, I jumped on it immediately. So that's me.
Has your role in the industry always centered around what you're doing now, or did you start somewhere in telecom and work into this, or has your focus always been service experience?
I started off in sales, internet sales, selling dial-up internet access, moved on to corporate internet access, ended up taking over network operations and building networks and delivering networks, doing service delivery there. And then it's evolved to building networks across the country. At one point, being responsible for global service delivery for a global 50 company in Europe, and ending up back over the last 10 years based in New York City and building projects around the country, for other companies. This was an opportunity to build a network for ourselves. And build it the way we wanted to build it, and serve the people that we wanted to serve.
You said something else in your prior answer, and that was outlying communities, and you've always wanted to serve in this capacity. And what does that mean to you to have arrived here today? Candidly speaking, before we jumped on, we talked about the fact that we know we're disrupting lives in some way for the passion project that we believe is going to change lives, understanding we are the fourth utility. It is an essential way of life. Walk me through a little bit about why these outlying communities have meant so much to you, and really why this is a passion for so many of us involved with such a huge project.
The passion is that we do this work, and we see enough when we're in the industry and understand how important high-speed broadband is, and the effect on communities if they don't have access to high-speed broadband, or if they're paying a premium amounts for subservice standard. And we've seen this, the World Health Organization has now declared it a necessity, internet access. We've seen it during COVID when at-home schooling was important, and folks without high-speed broadband access were having to do homework on their phones. The work from home movement has been critical, and without telehealth and without access to high-speed broadband, there are communities that don't get to realize all of these benefits, and there are communities, frankly, that become less attractive if people aren't able to work from home. So, in bringing high levels of or high-speed broadband enables communities not only to, meet basic needs, but to attract people to their areas, more people to their areas because of the availability of it.
Due to your vast knowledge, what challenges did you know you were going to face going into this?
Construction's hard, Kimber.
And what are some of those challenges? I know it is. I know. What are some of those challenges?
So in some of the communities that, Okaloosa County, Florida, we're investing $100 million. Glenn County, Georgia, are investing $50 million. This is a massive infrastructure project, the likes that they have not seen across these counties in years, decades, maybe ever. And it is disruptive. So, it's like if they were going to replace the water and sewer pipes in every street throughout the county, it would be very disruptive. Now, we're certainly not that disruptive, but we know it's disruptive, right? So even though we get permits for it, we work with the cities and the municipalities, we're in the right of way. We're still in people's front yards. That right of way ends up in people's front yards, and residents don't look at it as the right of way. They look at it as the lawn that they mow, that they put sprinklers in, and that we're in it. And we're very sensitive to that. We, make extended efforts to notify them before we start with door hangers. As you know, we have the Pardon Our Dust campaign to let them know that we're coming. This is what we're doing. This is probably what's going to happen. These are some of the questions you're going to have. And this is where you can call ultimately if you have more questions or if you have a concern. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So for those listening, utilize our help desk that's available on our website. It's clearly across the top when you go to liveoakfiber.com, right? The
That's right.
FAQs that you speak of are there to assist. There's also a live chat available where they can also send issues through there. We try to give as many points of access to hear their pain points, if you will.
Yes.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
do
there,
care.
yeah, there will be someone that answers that phone 24/7. We will have someone call you and come by either the same day or next day to address any concerns. There may be a hole that's dug, in the right of way, in the front portion of your yard. There might be loud machines on the street. Sometimes they can do a better job at restoration after the work is done, and we'll make sure that's done. And they're going to do things like, they might break something. So it's important to know that before we start any digging, we have to call 811, and all the utility providers have to mark out where their locations are. Sometimes they don't mark out where their facilities are, and sometimes they mismark them. And sometimes, to a lesser extent, we make mistakes. And in those cases, we might hit a water line, we might hit a sewer line, we might cut your cable. We also might hit your sprinkler line, which has no markings on it. And in all of those cases, we will ensure that those get fixed. Sometimes the cable lines we will patch ourselves, and sprinkler lines. As soon as we know that the sprinkler line is damaged, you call us, and we've got patch kits, and we'll make sure those are taken care of. So these are unfortunate things that do happen, but we do everything we can to avoid them.
Can you walk us through, as layman's as you can, what the construction process kind of looks like? So what people can expect when we show up on their street, about how long it takes, given we don't run into any issues,
Sure.
and so consumers can understand what they're seeing being built.
Sure, sure. So at some point, you might start seeing some spray painting going on by the locators. You might see white lines, different color lines that represent different utilities. Around the same time, you'll get a door hanger that basically says, "Hey, this is who we are. This is what we're doing. This is our phone number. These are some of the common questions that you might have, like, why are you in my yard?" And then once that paint goes down, very soon thereafter, you're going to start seeing some trucks and machines showing up, and they're going to start underground boring process, where they're basically stringing a conduit down the utility pathway in the front of everybody's homes. In order to do that, they do have to dig small holes, and they will be putting small vaults or small handholds, the green covered little vaults that you see that are surface level, that sometimes you might see a water shutoff valve in or things like that. And that's where we will put our fiber. And we make sure that these little handholds, we call them flower pots. These little flower pots are between, every two or three homes. So anybody who wants the service at some point can easily get it. The amount of time on a street, depending on the length of the street, varies. but it could be 1 to 2 weeks maximum,
Okay.
typically. Yeah.
And once that happens, how long does it take for them to essentially get the service they've been waiting for?
So once the messy construction part happens, which hopefully is cleaned up nicely after we're done, another crew may go back and pull fiber through those conduits. That doesn't require construction. And then there's a crew that actually splices all the fibers together. So once the conduit is put in place, it should be between 30 and 60 days before we start delivering service into the market. Ideally, 30 days or less.
Can you talk about the size, the breadth of this project so consumers can understand really the fact that we're going, say, as far east as St. Simon's Island, Georgia, all the way over to the Florida Panhandle, and really what goes into that?
Oh
And,
yeah.
and how much ground we've covered in just 1 year, which to me is impressive.
Yeah, so we did, two, last year we probably did over 2 million linear feet. This year, we are predicting many, many, many times that. We put 50 to 100 miles of conduit into the ground every single week. So it's, every street of every city in these counties, the counties that we've approved. So in Okaloosa, that's, as we know, Crestview and Niceville and Blue Water Bay and Valparaiso and Fort Walton Beach and Destin. And in Glynn County, it's all of Brunswick and St. Simon's Island and Sea Island. It's, every household will be passed in those areas. And it's a massive, massive project.
From day one when we started to where we are today, give or take, we've been in this 18 months together. How have we evolved? When you start off everywhere in your footing, and we've been a startup, how I feel like we've come a long way in terms of where we were day one to where we are today, and getting it all done.
Yes. Well, it's been a massive amount of additional engineering, a massive amount of additional crews. We try to spread those crews out as much as possible across the market, so they're not, all clumped up in one place and really disrupting any single neighborhood. We've, it's a massive mobilization to increase this, and the faster we do it, the faster it's done, right? And the faster the disruption continues. But one thing we've never lost focus of is our concern about the residents where we're doing construction and our
Mm-hmm.
response time to that. It's been mission number one since day one, and some people get very upset with us that we're in their front yard, and something might get damaged, and we take that very personally, as if it were our home. Our everybody that works here lives here.
Mm-hmm.
These are our employees live in these neighborhoods. These work in their neighborhoods, and so we treat these people like they're our neighbors because they are, and never lose sight of that.
No, it's so very important. And how can you talk about how we've talked about who we are, the how we touched on. Can you speak to the why in terms of what makes fiber optics such a superior solution than your normal internet, cable provider that our consumers have been accustomed to? Just
Absolutely.
because as we segue into these markets, it's been an interesting feat for people to understand what it means to cut the cord, why we have a superior solution, what keeps us passionate about being a main contributor and bringing these people this solution, which is it's ultimately life changing.
Right, right.
Right.
So, yeah, no, this is one of the most exciting things about it. And as you know, we enter these markets, and a lot of the folks here share with us, uh, very vividly and spiritedly how upset they are with their incumbent provider, their current provider. So what happens, and it's not unusual for folks to hate the incumbent, and the problem is that they've only had one choice for years, decades, maybe forever.
Hmm.
And these providers have constantly raised their prices, and the services have not improved. As a matter of fact, they've gotten worse.
Right.
because these companies have not invested in their networks and they keep on adding more customers and their networks are oversubscribed. So even though they sell a particular speed or bandwidth, these customers will never ever get that bandwidth or speed. Or when everybody gets home after work or in the evening and wants to use their internet, they will see that it will slow and it will never be that way. If they ever have an outage, they'll see that the outage might go on for 48 hours, 72 hours. If their line gets cut, they may get told that it will be repaired in 2 weeks or 1 week. And these are things that for us, for the service that we want to provide, are unacceptable. So if a customer says that they were getting 500 megs of service from their prior provider and they switch to us, they cannot believe how much faster it is because we're not selling them a service on an oversubscribed, overcongested, antiquated network. We're providing a service over a fiber optic line, not fiber powered, it's somewhere in their network, fiber directly to their premise, and it is the fastest technology available, and it is not oversubscribed, and it is not congested. So just a lightning fast pipe to their home.
And there is such a significant importance in that. And you know, is in any industry, what we are seeing happen is we're making waves. The competitors are taking notice. They want to obviously maintain their market share. They're part of their consumer. And so there's a little bit of maybe bait and switch or false promises in order to maintain this part of consumption, which is an interesting thing to see. And so it's having to navigate the construction side and bring this all together, but then message to the consumer the true ins and outs of what they're getting. It's actually it's exciting and fun and challenging, and I'm glad to be a part of all of it.
Yeah. Well, we were just talking about a promotion, I think, yesterday or earlier this
Mm-hmm.
morning, that one of the incumbent, competitors that has had a monopoly in this market for decades, in order to retain customers from switching over to LiveOak, has come with a promotion that says, "Hey, we'll give you a price at $39 a month." But we know what this means. Everybody knows the game is that they want a 12-month contract from you. And everybody knows that at the end of the 12 months, it's going to go right back up to the same price. And for that $39, you're going to continue to get that same slow internet that you're getting. And when it goes back up to $89 in 12 months, you're going to continue to get that. And they want a contract from you. And as
Mm-hmm.
you know, we have no contracts.
Mm-hmm.
We have no data caps that the local monopoly has. We have no additional fees for our modems. There are no additional fees. Which is very refreshing. That's one of the things that we wanted from day one is that we wanted a bill with no hidden fees, right? No special fees, no modem fee, no modem rental fees, no taxes, no caps, no cancellation fees. So there's one single price on our bill, and you're going to get what you pay for, which is not what happens, currently with their monopolies.
And can you talk about the symmetrical upload and download and what that really means for the consumer too? What they're getting today in terms of bandwidth and upload and download versus what we really bring to the table for them?
Oh, yes. So we talked about the fact that they're on an oversubscribed and overcongested line. There's been
Mm-hmm.
no investment in their networks. So even in the best case scenario, they're really never getting the download speeds that they're promised. And certainly at peak hours when everybody's home, they're not getting anywhere close to the download speeds. In addition, it's asymmetrical. So even if they're, let's say, purchasing 300 megs download, they don't have the same speed upload when they're uploading photos or uploading work or uploading assignments. They have a much slower speed to upload, and that's what's called asymmetrical. Our service is completely symmetrical. So if it's 500 megs or 2 gigs or 5 gigs, that's upload and download speed. And with no limitations and no throttling, and again, no data caps. Yeah.
What are some of the things that you foresee for us in this next year on your side of things as we continue to roll out, tighten up, and really become the player in this industry that we want to be and what we deliver?
You know, as we finish areas, as you know, we are implementing additional new services really that will enrich the service experience. We can't talk about some of them now, but there's additional services that the customers do want that we will be implementing. So that'll be exciting and rolling out to our existing customer base. When our customers do have issues, they call our amazing customer service line and get an experience that they will not get from any other provider. Um, I had a nice woman come to our office the other day and tell me that her printer wasn't working. And I was very happy to send a technician over there to make sure that her printer was connected to her network and working. And that is a level of service that they will never get from the local monopoly. It's just not going to happen.
Hmm.
If grandma's iPad stops connecting to the Wi-Fi, we're going to send someone to her house to get that fixed and working because we want them to enjoy our service. And yep.
Can you talk, because as you sit and you talk about these things, and we get to see behind the scenes how hard that I know our team works to really make every customer happy. Um, can you speak to how much you believe from a service experience standpoint that we care and we try to touch every customer to make sure that the customer experience is exactly the way they would like it to be?
Absolutely. So they created this title of service experience because it's so foundational to what we care about, right? So we
Mm-hmm.
talked about the construction and how we want to be very sensitive to being in neighborhoods and in residential properties and how we wanted to respond to them. And that's the first part of service experience. The second part of service experience is the installation process. When somebody's ordered our service and we're installing it at their home. And in that scenario, we also do it differently than any other provider. So we will install the service, we'll get it up and running, but then we'll ensure that each and every one of the customer's devices are connected to our service before we leave. And then using our tools, using our online tools, we will take a look at the quality of the connection for each one of those devices. And if they are not really premium Wi-Fi connections, we will go in and make some adjustments to make sure that those devices are connected in the best possible way. So not only are all their devices connected via high-speed Wi-Fi in the best possible way, the best possible channel, we can leave them happy knowing everything is connected. And frankly, it reduces customer calls later, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
we're setting them up for success day one. Um, and I think, Kimber, you're aware of this, but the number of compliments that we get about our customer installations, the type of technician that we hire, who I like to say is half technician and half, let's say, Geek Squad or Apple Genius, who is half technician and half customer service focused. We get really an incredible amount of feedback on the experience. And that also is very unusual and unique in the industry. It's something that we pride ourselves on every day. And this continues on into customer service. So once they're our customers, if there are any issues, if they have questions about their bills, or concern about their service level, they call us, and that's the third tier of service experience, where we want to make sure that we're offering that very high level of response time, one call, one resolution, and satisfaction for the customer.
How can the customer and what can they expect from the day that they are scheduled? How does the start of that process work for them?
So what happens typically is we schedule them for a specific date, and what we tell them is that there will be a crew that might be working in the street in order to, let's say, bring existing fiber from across the street, maybe under the road to an existing conduit to what's called a flower pot that's right in their front yard or near their front yard. After that, the on their scheduled date, the installation or our field service technician will show up and they'll talk about where they want the fiber to enter their home. We'll make sure that we kind of add our little, network interface device, our box on the outside of the home, much like all the other boxes that might be there for power or a sprinkler or something or water. And then at that point, we'll bring fiber up the home. We typically will put a temporary fiber on top of the lawn that will then be buried within the next couple of days. And we will bring the fiber into the home, set up the device, the router. It's called an ONT, but let's say the customer router. And at that point, that usually takes about an hour. And then at that point, we're helping the customer, choose their Wi-Fi name and password, and helping them connect all their devices.
And also the app. Let's
That's
talk
right.
about the app a little bit.
That's
It's a
right.
market differentiator for us. We're the only ones that have the app that allow parental controls and people to control their bandwidth and times of day and where they access point and where they don't,
Yes.
which is such to me an interesting thing. And we have a really high adoption rate, which is very fun to share. People love it.
Yes.
Tell people why they will love our app.
Yes, yes. There's two things there is that we encourage the customer to sign up on their portal and set up their account, and we also help them in downloading the app. And the LiveOak app allows them to do many things. It allows them to test the quality of their connection, make sure that they're getting the speed that they're paying for, and we encourage people to use that test all the time. It allows them to set up parental controls if they've got kids that they want to keep away from certain types of things on the internet, which is always good for involved parents. And the other thing it allows you to do is, which is pretty neat, is allows you to create guest Wi-Fi networks. So if you have people that are staying over, you can literally just create kind of a separate Wi-Fi network for Ma and Pa, and give them their own password that they'll be sure to remember. So that's easy. And then when they leave, you can kind of eliminate that access or keep it there. So the technicians are there to help them upload that app, walk them through it, and then help them understand how to use it. It's a great feature.
What's on your agenda for 2024? What are any of the big key things that you'll be focused on from your standpoint, understanding we're young and mighty and headed in the right direction?
In 2024, we in these two markets, and we'll be expanding to additional markets as well. But these two markets, we start completing some of the places that we started building. We get out of their hair. We really move into a lot of installations, and we do like the excitement that happens when people start getting the service in the neighborhoods and the streets, because people start hearing about the service and they want feedback from their neighbors, and they hear the feedback's good, and it starts kind of a snowball effect of people wanting the service. And then just maintaining that level of service that is our promise, as the local service provider, LiveOak Fiber. Yeah, and then just maintaining those relationships. And then as we move on to finish other towns in Okaloosa, and we expect at some point there'll be some more remote parts of the county that we're hoping at the end of the year we're going to get to go to, and that will be life changing, because these places in the more remote parts of the county, not high hopes for getting high speed internet at any time soon. So there's a lot of federal grant programs that are going to be headed, down the pike, that'll hopefully enable us in order to, you know, get service out there. So
Did
that's the exciting stuff.
did your light just arbitrarily pop on?
Something to do with a motion sensor.
Okay. I
Not a
was
big.
like, it went from light to dark. Something I think it would be interesting for you to answer is, at one point you were in Germany, you've done this all over the world. What has been so unique to the idyllic South that we've all come to love? Have there been unique challenges with this sector of the market?
Absolutely. So when we think smaller areas and smaller towns, we really think about they don't necessarily have the capabilities to manage an infrastructure project of this size and speed. So it's overwhelming.
Hmm.
It is overwhelming. So, we work hand in hand with the local cities and the local counties, to understand what their capabilities are, to help them with we will help them by bringing additional resources in to support them in this, because we know it's a burden to them. They're all excited. They all want the upgraded infrastructure. They all understand the value to the community, but
Right.
they all also understand that, wow, we've got, a water and sewer department that has 6 people in it. and you're going to be doing in one week, the amount of work that we might do in 6 months.
Hmm.
So that's something that we work through on a daily basis, with our partners in the local municipalities and at the county level. They've all been great to work with.
The
And
people are amazing, right?
oh yeah,
Like
yeah,
hats off to the people
yeah,
in the South.
the people are amazing. On one hand, it's like, whoa, y'all are trying to build a lot, but
Yeah.
on the other hand, it's like, how can we
Bring
work
it.
right?
Yeah.
How can we work hand in hand to get this done? And we promise we won't try to break too much stuff. And yeah, they've been great. So it's been a fun part. That's part of the fun, is dealing with all the people, right? So whether it's residents, and, like I even said, when we're out there talking to residents about their concerns, we have residents where we might break something. We might break their water service line or hit their power line or something, which we really certainly try to do. And we go out there and talk to them. And, after they realize that we're human beings and we didn't mean to do it and we're going to fix it, the next question is always, when's the service going to be up and running in the neighborhood? Because we want it.
Yeah.
And that's the great thing. Once we get past the inconvenience of the construction, the folks here are so excited about the service, and part of it is just because they've heard about how good it is. They see the branding and the excitement of what's happening, and they're also really, fed up with their current providers, right? So it's really a win-win for us. It's quite exciting here.
What made you sign up for the gig?
Well, the gig is, I've been probably in New York for the last 10 years, but I'm a Florida boy. So
Okay.
I was born and raised in Florida, and this was an opportunity to come back down to Florida and fulfill that dream of bringing internet to places that were underserved, at least by internet. The places are great. It's not, these are certainly, I would never consider rural places, but they are underserved by internet, and it's because we see the value in internet. We build it everywhere. It just brings us joy. I mean, it's like a thrill to be able to bring it to places that doesn't have it.
When did you and our founder, Jody Kraft, first cross paths?
Jody and I started working together over 20 years ago in Germany.
Okay.
So Jody was, building and running a global IP network, global internet network, if you will, and outside of Germany for Deutsche Telekom. And I was responsible for delivery of global services outside of Germany. So our team would sell things, and it would be my job to sell things, to get them installed in Europe, Asia, Middle East, and we built a massive network and a massive network of customers. And it was probably, one of the greatest adventures of my life is having to deliver services for a global 50 company to
Yeah.
basically every country in the world. Um, yeah, got a lot of air miles.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do.
I
Tell
did.
me, could you highlight like what are some of the biggest changes that you've seen from now until then
As
in the industry as a whole? Or
yeah,
is that too broad?
yeah, it's broad, but probably speeds, technology speeds, right? So that's probably by far and away
Yeah.
the need for speed and the ability to deliver speed. So the speeds that we're delivering to households now, just a few years
Wow.
ago were, nothing that a home could ever expect, right?
Right.
These were speeds that, let's say, the largest companies would be getting, but our lives have gone online. Our schooling, our work, our more and more people are cutting the cord with a cable box and streaming all their movies. And then if I think about my household, there's, let's say, 4 or 5 televisions. There's a bunch of kids on laptops and
Mm-hmm.
iPads and iWatches and iPhones. There's perpetually just, an incredible amount of connected devices that are downloading data.
Mm-hmm.
And what we don't want at this point, when our family's doing all those things, is to try and watch, the Real Housewives on the big screen and see it flickering because of a bandwidth constraint. So that's one of the things. 20 years ago, we were selling dial-up internet.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the whippersnappers out there don't even know what that is, and they would laugh. But we would
Yeah.
have to plug our computer into our telephone and try to connect to an internet service provider. And the connections that were faster than that are what companies were using.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're delivering, fiber optic cables directly to homes, that people are plugging their PlayStations into and their workstations into, and connecting their refrigerators and their smart lights and their alarms. Yeah, that's by far for me the biggest change. Yeah.
And do you foresee in the next 3 to 5 years any big changes, or just the natural evolution of technology and what it will be?
Yeah, it's hard
Anything
to.
coming down the pipeline we can be warned about?
I don't see anything hot besides the fact that continued demand for bandwidth. I see more and more parts of the home being connected.
Hmm.
People talk about, smart homes. More and more smart home, stuff is going to be happen. Your lights,
Smart
your
towns, even,
smart
right? We're
towns.
moving into smart towns now.
That's right, right.
You
So,
know,
there'll be, ubiquitous Wi-Fi throughout towns and down main streets, everything connected in the home. Yeah, absolutely. They'll make it easier and easier and easier. So you don't have to be some type of like techno wizard in order to get these things. They'll just plug in and work, much the same way, let's say our iPhones, work. Our iPhones just work. They're easy to use. And I think that a lot of these smart home features will evolve. Climate control, being able to
hmm
control your climate, which, I do now with
I do
from your
too.
phone. It's a nice, easy way to do it. Make sure the home is cool when you get home and it's not over cool when you leave. And well, I think those are the biggest things, I think.
For anyone listening and they have the man straight from the top,
Uh,
what is the best way for a consumer to get in touch with us if they do need any support from Live Oak Fiber when it comes to your realm of things?
if you ever have any question, you need to call our main hotline. It's 188 4 Live Oak. The very simple, straightforward options there for customer service and sales and public relations. The customer service covers construction issues as well. So if you have any questions, you get to customer service and somebody's in your street and they're in your yard and you're unhappy, you go to customer service option one and tell them that you have a construction issue. They will take your name and number and someone will call you right away and or come over either the same day or the next day. They will call you, they will come see you, and they will make sure that issue is taken care of. The same is for any issue about installation, any issue with the service. And our promise, the Live Oak promise, is that you will get taken care of ASAP.
Thank you. That's
Okay.
it.
Thank you.
Perfect.
This was
Yeah.
great.
All right. Thank you
All right.
so much.
Thanks, Kimber. See ya.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in. To learn more about LiveOak Fiber, visit liveoakfiber.com and feel the flow.